right. Well, welcome everyone to another monthly meeting with the Red Cord. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Just real quick, my background looks very different right now. And I know you guys are probably thinking, where on earth is Ashley at now? So I'm in Israel at the moment. So hopefully my internet stays on long enough for me to be a part of this discussion. But Ashley and I are super excited to dive into this month's theme, which we're going to be talking about prostitution, sex work, our culture, and how those things are intertwined and what that looks like in practice, specifically when it comes to sex work. So we're super excited, though, to have with us today none other than our friend Jaco Booyens, who is taking time out of his busy schedule to talk with us about this issue. So I don't think there's anyone that we know of that's better qualified to discuss this with us. So welcome, Jaco. Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really do appreciate it. And we're glad to see you again.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. These two amazing women of God, you warriors, and all your supporters at Red Cord and the staff. And this is this is like a multicast operation you're running here. We got Israel and we got Arizona and I think Oklahoma and who knows
Oklahoma, yeah.
So you didn't know you were producers, but you're producing a show here, so it's good. But this topic is going to be so good. The timing is spot on. You know, this is the moment to talk about this. So I'm very excited to be with you. Thank you very much. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So it seems like the whole sexualized world has just blown up in the last, coronavirus, but within the last like 30 days, it's just, there's been all this awareness about human trafficking, and some of it's great and some of it's not great. I know we've all been putting out fires of the Wayfair issues and all of the other conspiracy theories out there. We've been spending, in my opinion, way too much time putting out fires like that. But we have to educate people correctly about this so that they understand what they really need to be looking for and what they're seeing on a daily basis. So like Ashley said, we're going to have a conversation about kind of, in short, prostitution versus trafficking, our sexualized world. And we have so many teachers and parents just on the daily contacting us or in discussions in the community of like, help. Yeah. What do we do? You know, what do we do? What does this new world of distance learning look like? How do we keep our kids safe? And parents want to do their due diligence of keeping their kids safe, but they need to know how. They need to know where this wolf, as you say, where are they looking for our kids now? What's changed?
Yeah, no, it's so timely, you know, and most schools started either this week or next week, and it's all upside down. You know, the parents are, you know, stretched thin. Some of them are homeschooling. Some of them are doing, you know, schooling from home with the school. You got teachers unions on strike. And so I'm just going to give it to you raw and real as I know, but there's a reason why it's manifesting the way it is, Asha and Ashley. A lot of what we fight every day, you know, is hidden in plain sight. What you guys fight, it's hidden in plain sight. And now a light is being shone on it, but there's a lot of misinformation going on as well. So we're getting the same thing. I want to affirm you in that. But it's so important right now to help parents understand how they can fight it. And I always say this, we have to get people to understand it's hyper local. It's hyper local. And the fight should be hyper local. Because if you look at social media, and I'm so thankful for a national conversation. I'm so thankful for you know, the word of mouth to really go, but it in a way hurts the cause if the information's not accurate, because people have a, you know, there's let's just march. I was at one last night, right? And I told the organizers the same thing I'm going to tell you. You know, just marching against sex trafficking, you know, it helps awareness, but it doesn't do what it needs to do if you don't equip those people with what can I go home with today and actually do in my family. And nobody wants to talk that, you know. But no, it's Washington, D.C. and it's the lawmakers, and it's, you know, and like pause for a second. Is it in your home? No. Are you contributing? And then people shocked the crowd last night. I mean, I thought you told people there was a meteor that was going to hit Earth. And I stopped the crowd and I said, I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you contributing to the problem? Let's start there. Because real redemption, Jesus' redemption, real healing, and real change, same conversation we should be having in the race conversation. Every person, not one side of the subject, every person, are you contributing? Is it in your household? And that could be like, if someone's engaged in porn, there's infidelity, there's a disrespect for women, there's a derogatory culture in the home towards the role of a woman. All these little minor things we deal with a survivor. At the end of the day, all the restoration piece, reverse engineer that, go to the beginning and say, okay, we look at all the things we have to help a survivor heal from and restore from. Those are the very things we need to go back in the beginning and make sure they're not present in someone's life so that they don't end up in this lifestyle. And so there's a huge responsibility that's now being put on parents to say, I really have to engage what my child is watching. And so I want to, on this topic, just really want to talk about the school curriculums for the second. We've got an attack, a full-on assault. And this is a planned assault on the American child in the school system. It's strategic. This is no conspiracy, because the conspiracy theory things on the internet, they don't deal hyper local. They deal with the hyperbole and the overarching and the tunnels and the, and I go, man, this is an incredible George Lucas movie you guys are writing. And they go, and then they'll say, yes, but children have been rescued from tunnels. Yeah, we have rescued children from tunnels on the border. Yes, we've rescued kids from cages, but if you paint that picture, it's going to be easier to traffic kids in your neighborhood than it's ever been, because I'm looking for tunnels, and there's no tunnels in it. And so, time out for a second. It's in your kids' school curriculum. It's in the public system's school curriculum. Right? What do you? Yes, the children are being groomed and desensitized to sex in the school curriculum. 32 states of 50 is teaching CSE at the moment. 2 of them, it's mandatory. Texas is voting on making this, mandatory next week. Oklahoma is voting on it before the end of the year. People are not understanding that this fight takes time. Even on the predator side, they're patient. They groom. They pick a target. They get the trust of a family member. Familial trafficking, all these things, what's happening in the home. These are the things we have to discuss. And so curriculum, online activity is going to be very important. So now I want the moms to become helicopter moms. And when your child is going to school, I want you to ask, what are you learning? What are you teaching my child? Or if it's an online situation, we just had, my kids' school just said they start tomorrow and they're already close to school for 14 days. And so now it's online. Right? But I think there's an opportunity now for parents to actually dive in and saying, what are my children's eyes beholding? What are they seeing, right? Where is the fight really? And I want to tell parents, and I'll close this segment with this for me, it's hyper local. You've got to think local. You have to think my house, my neighbor's children, my street, my zip code, my city. Before you want to go storm the hill of Washington, D.C. or New York or the Dunn's tunnels, wherever. I mean, it's hyper local. And that's why Red Cord is so vital, because you're one of so few in the nation that's doing what you guys are doing. And in your state, there's not many.
Yeah. So, on that note, just looking at that, parents, like Asha mentioned, we're having a lot of parents and teachers come to us specifically right now during the whole COVID-19, issue that's going on, talking about how they're not even sure what to do because, like you said, their eyes are being open to, oh, wow, my kid actually spends 90 hours, a week on their social media or on their phone, or I couldn't pry them from their room or whatnot. And so we have a lot of parents now asking us, what do I need to start looking for? What are some good, healthy things that I need to start implementing in my household? Now that I realize that my kid actually does have a problem when it comes to technology addiction. And I don't have a clue the first thing about social media or what apps they're on or who they're talking to. And I think COVID-19 has done a really good job of showing people how disconnected we are from one another, unfortunately. But we want to give people hope and say this is the time to change, and you can make that change. You can make that step in the right direction. So let's start talking about that. So as a parent, as a teacher, what is some good, solid advice that you would give them on making that first step of being proactive when it comes to working with their kids?
Yeah, I think for the teacher and the parent, and many of the teachers are parents, right? So you could talk to both in the same person, but let's separate that just for a second. For the parent, you really got to get to know your child. I mean, COVID is actually a blessing, not the virus, but the opportunity to engage with people, the opportunity to research. So you really need to know your child, and you have to start having real situational conversations with your child. Like, who are you talking to? What is the discussion? Oh, my 13-year-old doesn't want to. It doesn't matter. And remember, you fight darkness with light. So you have to bring things into your home that proactively engages your child away from social media, away from media, period. And that means conversation, topics of conversation. Now is the time to start talking to your 5-year-old, your 10, your 15-year-old about their vision board, their dream board going forward. Tell me about what's on your heart. Where do you want to go? This is how it works. Let's get a book on that topic. Let's read the book together. Let's dive into some research together on, hey, Mom, I'd like to be a doctor one day, or whatever. Revitalize healthy conversation, because it's all about time. If your child starts to be occupied, it's no different than how you get him. How do you get a Mexican kid to not be in Mexico, to not be in a gang? They join a boxing gym, and the boxing coach takes all their time. Now you pray that the boxing coach is instilling good life skills and values in them, but it's all about time. It's a battle for time, because it's the one thing that can't move. I can't offer you, even a pimp can't offer a girl more time in a day or less time. There's 24 hours. And so it's literally what they're consuming. And if we start taking their time and utilizing their time with healthy, uplifting content, conversation, right? In this case, against, a potential trafficking situation, or just normalizing sexual behavior with a child. If you start occupying their time with constant conversation and content and situations, maybe even outreach where you can, and hey, let's do some things in the home, the child's time is being occupied. And now you're changing habit. You're breaking habit, and you're breaking the culture in the home, and you're reshaping culture. That's what we need. The biggest blessing from COVID is we needed a culture change. We needed a spiritual culture change, and we needed a moral culture change in our country, in the world. And if we don't do it in our home, we're going to miss arguably the greatest opportunity to do so. So I think for parents right now is, reach out to the Red Courts and the other organizations and say, well, if my son's going to read a book right now instead of being online, what is a great book he could read that's going to instill good values in him, change the way he thinks of women, or put good role models in front of him? Like, I'll tell parents right now, unashamedly, tell your kid that you don't watch the NBA. You don't watch sport. Anybody that wants to use their platform to indoctrinate, we're going to step away from any of that. If that means that Fox News or CNN is on in your house 4 or 5 hours a day, and your child subliminally, subconsciously, as a parent, you shut it down. This is about healthy in, healthy out at this moment, honestly.
Agreed, 100%. Absolutely. And I think when I've talked to parents about what you just said about looking at the use, it's very easy to throw the kids under the bus, right? But how many of us parents are spending hours and hours on social media, on watching the news? And so it's easy to criticize our kids for it, but I believe that parents are just as bad, if in some cases not worse. And so I think it takes, like you said, a complete culture shift, not just with our kids, but as a whole family unit, of, okay, we're not all going to just sit on the couch for the next 3 hours and scroll through social media. We're going to play a game. We're going to talk. We're going to go outside and run. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to hike. Like you said, it's changing those 24 hours that we have in a day for something that's better for the body and soul and the brain. So absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just hearing something as you're speaking, Asha, and it's just me being me. I'm praying through this whole conversation, and just what I feel God's laying on my heart is just saying, well, who's the loudest voice in your child's life?
Yeah.
And then secondly, who are the voices in your child's life? And when you really do an audit of that, a real husband-wife setting and say, hey, let's go and discuss Ashley for a minute. Let's audit who's the voices in Ashley's life. That's where you're going to make the change. That's where you're radically going to shift a young person and protect them, literally protect their eyes and their ears and their mind. But who's the voice? And if it okay, well, it's Instagram. Well, who are the voices on Instagram? You have that conversation with your child. Show me who you're following. Let's go through your feed. Well, Mom, I don't want to. Well, then look, you can't heal what you conceal. You can't, right? And so these are tough conversations. And then I say to people, well, yeah, welcome to parenting. That's parenting. Right. You're not called to be their friend. This is parenting. If you really want to know, how do you protect children? How do we stop this thing called child sexual exploitation, right? This is how. Who are the voices in their lives? And you cut out cancer. You cut out the voices that are negative, the voices that harm them, the ones that bully them, but the ones that are indoctrinating, and spewing hate. And it may very well be that the language and the behavior of the parents are not a positive voice. So it's culture change in the home.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when I talk to parents, they say, well, we want to talk to our kids and inform them, but they want to keep them sheltered. They don't want to, expose them to the horrors of the world at too young of an age. And I've experienced that with my youngest. She's 10, and we're very open in our house, obviously, because of what I do. It's not anything we hide, and we have lots of conversations. But on the other hand, there's times where I have to be cognitive of not sharing too much with her, right? And for an example is when the whole LOL dolls came out, and the thing that came out about putting them in ice water. Well, sure enough, she had a friend give her some of those dolls, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try this, just to see. And sure enough, one out of the 3 dolls that she had, it changed. It changed into that lingerie outfit on that little doll. And I showed her, and I said, this is what's going on. And she was so mad. She started crying. She's like, throw the dolls away. And she says, why do they, as in society, why do they have to keep ruining my childhood? Why? Everything that I look at, everything that I want to play with, everything that is in my life, I feel like I'm being attacked, as a 10-year-old. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And as extremely wise 10-year-old who is having appropriate, timely conversations in the home can now handle a very complicated and complex situation, such as blatant deception by a corporation who intentionally, subliminally go and come with technology where you put a doll in ice water, her outfit changes to lingerie, or you push a button in a genital area, it makes sound, right? And now a child is equipped enough to say, this is not right. And so I'm imploring parents, you have to have these conversations, but you have to gauge each child on their own. Developmentally and cognitively where the child is, you got to read it as a parent. But I'll say this to you, Asha. Parents are not willing to have this conversation because they haven't put in the effort to educate themselves. They don't feel that they are informed enough. And so get informed. My 5-year-old does not know the word sex trafficking. She doesn't. But she knows more than sex trafficking than she knows because the language we choose to talk to her about it. You can talk to a child about anything without exposing them prematurely, because I fight that in the curriculums, right, in the CSE curriculum.
Yeah.
But you can absolutely equip that child with enough information to protect themselves in the first encounter, because they are the first line of defense, right? And as a parent, you're to their eyes on social media. You hope to be the second. Physically, you should be the first line of defense as a parent, but you also want to equip them to understand my space, privacy. My two girls are 2 years apart, right? They're both under 5. They talk to each other about private space, privacy. You know, respect my no. When I
Yeah.
say no, it means no. You know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And if you ask them, what do your dad do? They'll say, my dad helps girls, right? My dad, and they'll tell you, there are bad people in the world, and
Mhm.
there are some people that want to hurt children. This is the truth. This is the truth. But they can't tell you about rape. They can't tell you about, inappropriate, sexual language, etc. You don't have to go there. But then you gauge your child. Obviously, your 10-year-old is at a place where you go, listen, maybe I'm going to show you. I want you to see. Now, what happened to your child there, Asha, is she saw the deception and she saw the lie. And you
Yeah.
did such a good job as a parent that the lie did not look to her as truth. The lie didn't look okay to her. Why? Because she was not desensitized to the lie. She saw the lie for what it was, and she was repulsed by it. And she's like, this isn't right, and she rejects it. That's what we want from our children. We want our children to be able to recognize the lie, right? The deception, not be deceived, and reject it on their own. If we can do that, because remember, a pedophile, a pimp, a groomer, these guys are cowards in a sense where they go for the soft target. If there's any level of resistance at first, not talking about later, when they've had, a woman or a boy under their control. At first, if there's resistance, they'll move on to the next target. They don't want resistance. They don't want risk. You know, once they've indoctrinated, they de-risk the situation. With their force, fraud, coercion, manipulation, whatever they do, threats, physical abuse. But at first, if they're profiling this child online and the child has a natural knee-jerk response to, I can see bad. I may not know what it's called. I can't talk about it in the right terminology, but I am in touch with bad. Your child is going to be safe, but we got to train them that way. Now, how do you do that? Conversation.
Right. Yeah. And after she calmed down, and I felt bad, that she was so upset.
Of
But
course,
after she calmed down, I said, listen, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry that you know about this. And I said, because you have to understand that there's kids out there that don't have anyone in their life to explain to them that this is not okay. And I said, there's going to come a point in your life as you get older that you are probably going to help one of your friends realize that something
Absolutely.
is not okay. And I said, I've seen it with my older children with different scenarios. And I said, this is why I expose you to what you need to know right now, because my hope is that you'll be a light for someone else that has never been shown that they're looking at darkness.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like sorry, but not sorry, you know?
Yeah, look, if we could rewind the clock, remember, I was raised in Africa in the bush, for crying out loud. We got internet the year after I left high school. So it's a different universe, right? And so if I could rewind the clock and say I want my kids to grow up like that, man, it would be amazing. But that's not our reality. Our
Right.
reality, we're here for a time such as this. Our reality is now we got a parent, right? And we got to have these conversations, but it's not that hard to do, folks. It seems hard, but this story you just told, Asha, it's going to liberate moms. It's going to liberate them and go, really? I can actually, yeah. Well, I don't know if my child can handle it. Okay. Well, let me support what Asha was just telling all of you watching. And Ashley's not a mom yet, but let me support you for you. We have curriculums in school that engage the concept of sex to children now under the law in kindergarten. These are 5-year-olds, okay? So I want you to understand the bad guys, and these are bad guys, and the ones who want to desensitize, that's the target. They're going at 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, okay? So if you as a parent are going to vacate or abdicate your opportunity, I wouldn't even say responsibility, your opportunity to be early and be first in engaging your child in concepts that we're discussing here, someone else will do it for you. They will do it for you. And you, Asha, you just said your child's probably going to help her friends. She may already have, because she's going to have that conversation about the dolls the next time it comes up in school, right? Well, your daughter's on the side of light here, and she's going to enlighten and bring hope and change. But there's also a kid where their parents give them the doll and they're normalizing it because the parent comes into their room at night. Let's just be real. And that child's conversation on the playground at recess is the polar opposite of your daughter. That child's telling her friends, this is normal. Everybody does this. You should do this. That child, when a boy approaches her and she's 15 and says, sex means you love me, right? Goes, yes, I was trained. That is what it means, right? And you see that dichotomy in that. This is why it is so important for us to train the minds of these young people so that not just for themselves, but when that conversation happens peer to peer, understanding the opposite conversation is also happening, right? And so if you go, I'm going to shelter my child, okay, but you're also preventing your child from impacting another kid's life positively who may or may not have the parent that actually care.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we talk about, too, when we talk to parents, is you want that positive first exposure, not when they're out there on the street. Because if that's their first exposure, it's too late, I mean, we don't want that to happen. We had an incident a little while ago now. We were training a large group of young women. I think the youngest, what was it, fifth grade? Was that the youngest? Fourth grade?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was fifth grade, something of that nature, yeah. And, we were talking about human trafficking for the most part. Of course, we gauged, how we talk to different audiences. So we had the high schoolers, and then we had these younger fifth graders. And I had an individual who was, you should call it a teacher over these little girls, who pulled me aside before I began. And she said, I just want you to know that all these girls come from good homes. They're all really good. And I don't want you to steal their innocence from them. And she was very, very pointed with how she was not on board with us coming there to talk to these young women. And so when she left, I just kind of sat there and I was like, I've got, 30 of these little fifth graders in there. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to change it up real quick. So when we sat down to talk with them, instead of us presenting, I just sat down and started asking these girls to teach me. What have you seen? And I would give them prompts. And by the time we were done, the only shocked people in the room were the parents and the teachers in the back, who were shocked at what these little 10, 11-year-olds had already been exposed to, what they knew, but they didn't have a frame of reference to know if it was right or wrong. Or they had these, this feeling that it wasn't right, so they didn't tell mom or they didn't tell dad, and it was pretty sad, because every last one of them, like I said, there's about 30, every last one of them had some exposure, pornography. We had a few in that group that I think, from what I understand, were struggling with addiction, the beginnings of addiction. From social media, people talking with them, to pictures that they had already taken of themselves. I mean, it was quite the evening. But yeah, I think parents need to realize that if you're not talking to your kids about this, the culture is going to, unfortunately, be that training mechanism. I know we got to wrap up here in a few minutes, but just real quick, I want to dive a little bit more into the cultural aspect of it, because we live in such a hypersexualized culture. One of the things that I love to do is listen to music, and music is a big part of my life, but I think a lot of our music is being destroyed when it comes to messages that's being put out there. So I know a lot of people, that song WAP that came out, I got exposed to that, believe it or not, from a 10-year-old who was dancing out to it, and I was listening to it, and I was like, I gotta send this to Asha, because I couldn't believe what I was, watching and listening to this 10-year-old dancing to. But the sad thing was, she was mouthing everything that she was singing the words, but I don't think she had a clue what she was talking about. But she was still being hardwired, groomed to think that that was something that womanhood is. And obviously, I'm not going to say the lyrics, and most people know what that is, that song, because it's really, really rocked a lot of deals. But just talk a little bit more about the culture.
Yeah.
What went wrong? What really went wrong in our culture to get to this point now where we're seeing 5-year-olds twerk, things like that?
Yeah. And Netflix having a series on twerking and think it's okay to, and then apologizing for the poster. And I went on national television and they go, forget about the poster, cancel the film.
Right.
Oh, sorry, we offended you with the poster. Are you out of your mind? Yes, they are. There's a massive spirit of deception. Look, we are fighting a spiritual battle, whether you want to like it or not. It's steal, kill, and destroy. This is not a game. And we as a culture embraced sexual immorality in the 60s. Full-fledged. We said yes to sexual immorality. And we've tracked this through history. The second the Roman Empire said yes to sexual immorality, it fell. You cannot hold a culture. You cannot hold the fort. You cannot hold your youth when a culture embraces sexual immorality. It is impossible. None in history has done it. It takes three generations and you fall. Well, go look at where we are. Look at where we are right now. We are seeing massive impact with rapid acceleration in our culture being destroyed because we're normalizing an immoral mindset and culture. And the most powerful weapon on earth is sex. It is the most powerful weapon. Man, a mutual consensual sex between a husband and a wife is a weapon against evil. It's a weapon. It forges a marriage. It builds a fort and a stronghold in a house, but it's equally destructive when it's thwarted. So that girl sings that song because culture tells her, I need to be accepted. Culture tells her, if I don't, I'm an outcast. Culture tells her, you actually don't have a voice for yourself. We'll think for you. Look at what's happening in our country. You've got people picking up causes for other people on their behalf. And the Bible says you can't take someone else's offense. You can't pick up someone else's offense. Why? Because of this result that it produces. So culture says, I'm going to think for the child. This is what the child should be doing. Parent, this is what you should be doing. And now she's being hardwired. She's singing the lyric. She may not understand the lyric, but it builds a library of trigger words for her now. There's words in that song that she doesn't know she's singing. Now, later on, when someone does come to exploit her and they use words, the word's already normalized. It's already accepted in her library, right? Now someone else comes and affirms and layers context to the word, and it's like, okay, this is accepted. And this is how it works. And it says, oh, give the pinky, they take the arm. You cannot give. You can't give. There's no compromise when it comes to moral stability, right? And so when you embrace anything in culture that leads to a morally fluid nature or decision-making process, and your children are there, they're sitting ducks, Ashley. They can't defend. It's an avalanche. They're being snowed in from every angle with culture saying, but we have written laws to normalize an immoral culture. We're justifying it 100%. Do you know that we're north of 60% of female college students today have a porn problem? Female.
Wow.
Because culture told them that sex is love. And if you love the guy, you sleep with him. Because love is a feeling. We've made love a feeling in our culture. So if I disagree with you and you don't make me feel good, right? You don't love me. No, that's not love. Love is sacrificial. If I want to correct you, it's because I love you. That concept is out the window. right? It's just agree with me. And so this is how culturally, again, now you can say to people, well, change culture. How do I change? I can't change culture in your home. In your home. Equip your child. This is how this grassroots movement, and so that's where we went off, as we embraced this notion that you can give a little to create temporary balance and appease people. Well, the gender conversation. How did we get to a place where we can argue gender? Well, they first had to come after what is family. And then they had to come after, is a father necessary in the home? And then they had to incentivize fathers leaving the home. They had to get culture to be okay. Then they had to question, now all of a sudden, what is gender? Well, how many genders? Now the next push is, well, pedophilia is a sexual orientation. You couldn't jump from where we were, where there was prayer in schools and a strong, monotheistic Judeo-Christian overview of family, right? You couldn't go from there to, well, pedophilia is a sexual orientation. There was pedophilia at that time, but you couldn't make that leap. It was too radical. People go, no, you're out of your mind. So you break it down systematically. You move the needle. We've got many states right now going to their Senate floors to lower the age of consent to 12. They couldn't do it. And so this is how you do it culturally. It's a long game, and to reverse it, it breaks. You got to start building. So you build these young people. You build their minds. You show them, Asha, you show them evil, age appropriately. They got to see dark. You can't. How do you point light without pointing out dark? You can't. So the teacher that told you they're from good homes, don't steal their innocence. I'm going to cotton wool them and protect them, and we're going to keep them in the light. And I go, some of them are already in the dark. And now you're concealing it. You're not willing to tell them that it's dark. They don't even know that it's dark, because those who brought it to them is not telling them, hey, this is a really bad apple for you. This is going to poison you. You should eat it. No, they tell them, this is amazing. This is how you get love. Unless we tell them, no, that's poison. By the time you catch it at red cord, and you got a disaster at your hands, right? And now there's massive reconstructive work that needs to happen, right? So you can't give as a parent. You cannot. In your marriage, you can't compromise morality, because these children are like the best. They're the best imitators in the world. They do what they see, man. They're like little, I'm telling you, they're like brilliant little, copycats. They do what they see. And parents said, what kind of a parent am I? I said, be quiet for 2 hours and watch your children. That's you. So if they're talking about being friendly and kind and loving people, right and wrong, if the siblings start correcting each other, we don't lie. Okay. We love God. Okay. Yeah. Monkey see, monkey do.
That's a perfect analogy, right? That breaks it down, I think, as much as we can break it down. Monkey see, monkey do. I love it.
No question.
I love it. I love it. Well, we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us today. And your insight is always wonderful. And the thing we love about you the most that empowers us as Red Cord speakers as well is that you're so truthful and you're so so blunt. You don't sugarcoat it. And I think that speaks to a lot of people who they just want to hear it like it is. Don't sugarcoat it, and it empowers us as well. So thank you for what you do.
It's mutual. You empower me. I say this authentically. You're two amazing women. You do fantastic work. Praying for you. We stand with the Red Cord. Asha, we stand with you. Ashley, everybody else that works with you. Travel safe. Be blessed in Israel. I know you're there to work, but also receive. Let them talk to you. And just keep fighting at Red Cord. We want to know how we can help more. And thank you for inviting me. I'm honored, and hopefully I hope I contributed. So
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So one last quick question,
yeah,
if you're allowed
sure.
to speak about it. When's this next film coming out?
Oh man, can I? Oh, it's so good. This thing, can I tell you something? Jesus bless Red Court, because you guys blessed us. This thing caught us by surprise, Asha, because we went in saying, again, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. It's going to be real, right? And I've been in this fight a long time. My sister was trafficked 26 years ago, okay? And so I've been in it a long time. And last week, we were editing Ashley's segment. We were editing your segments, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say 2 weeks from now, we're going to start teasing it, right? So we're
Okay.
going to bring, for instance, the interviews, and the interviews are riveting, riveting. I mean, they are so eye-opening. I have organizations that fight trafficking watch some of the clips and they go, dude, why am I learning right now? How is it that I'm learning? And I go, yeah, this is what it's supposed to. I got chills right now. So
Yes.
for instance, we'll release a 5-minute teaser on your segment, Ashley, is one of the teasers we're working on. And then of course your whole interview and how we're positioning it. So the whole thing, we're aiming for it to come out November, and we'll start teasing it in 2 weeks. We'll start dropping these 5-minute segments on Instagram, fully branded, and we're gonna give it to you to share. And then of course all your segments, you'll get all the footage of it, in edited form, of course. Not editing your words, but color correcting and subtitling and texting and dressing it up so that you can use it for Red Court. We're going to hand that over to you because it's your words. It's your words. It's your mindset, and so it should be a really powerful tool. But even you're gonna learn through this thing. I mean, it's gonna break your heart at times. It's gonna inspire you. It's been a lot of work, but it's really good. So I'm so glad you asked that question. And it's called.
Well, we've been anxiously waiting. So
it's called Sex Nation. It's called Sex Nation because unfortunately that's what we've become. We've become a sex nation. We sexualize everything.
What platform is it coming out on, since movie theaters aren't open? How is it going to be released?
It'll be released through the digital streaming platforms. These short segments are coming out through social media, so we will just build a massive awareness, and just even in the segment, people are going to learn so much, and really they're going to say, I want more, and then it'll come out. We have relationships at Amazon, at YouTube's channel, at Netflix, and so it will come through the streaming services. It'll come to the people so they have access, and then we're going to put it in the hands of the Red Courts of the world and say, here's a tool, use the tool at will as you wish. You may decide to only use your clips, or you may decide to use more. So no,
well, we would love. Yeah, when it comes out, we would love to do a showing of it. If we have to download it from Amazon or whatever, we will pull our community together because they love and support you. Oklahoma loves you. So.
Well, we love you, and actually,
you have to wait to come back to the States, though. Don't do that without me.
I'll wait till Ashley gets back.
No. See, I got Asha's number, so I'm gonna call Asha after this call and go, hey, listen, make a statement. Let's do the premiere at Red Court before Ashley comes back. No, we won't do that. Of course not. Come on. No, but
end of November, we should be good.
No. You're gonna be back, but I do want to encourage like the Red Courts of the world to host events, because again, it's a beautiful magnet. It's an incredible conversation starter, right, for your community. And it's a good fundraising opportunity for you as well, right? So we're going to take the same model we had with 8 days and say, hey, we're taking it to the people who are in the fight, and we want to make it a tool for you in your state in what you're doing. One, to build your network, to raise funds, to change legislation. So we want it to be a blessing to. It's why it was created. It's for the community, right? For those who really fight. So you'll be able to do that. So we're excited. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, safe flight home whenever you're heading back home. Say hi to the family,
2 hours.
the
I'm
kids.
on the plane, so yeah, no.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Bless
again,
you,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Bless you,
We
ladies.
appreciate. Yes, we appreciate you, and we'll be in touch soon.
Please be always. We're here for you. Thank you very much, both of you.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.